Hi, everyone. Welcome to Missing Chapters. We're excited to have you. Folks are just getting signed on, and while we do that, I want to encourage folks that are signed on um, to put in the Slack where you're joining us from. The last one we did of these, we had people coast to coast, Tyler. We even started getting barbecue recommendations
Oh,
and where to go when we visited certain towns. So definitely, Tyler is in Denver, right?
yep.
I'm in Park City, Utah. So we'll kick it off with those two, but we would love to Chattanooga. Chattanooga, Haley. I was going to say I know someone from Chattanooga, and then I realized it was Haley on my team. But everyone else, join on in and let us know where you're joining us from. And if it's someplace with warm weather, I will be jealous. That's all I can say. But we'll give people just a couple minutes to join before we get rolling.
Love it. I want to see if there's anyone out there
Oh,
from
Portland.
Denver. Give us someone from Denver out there. Come on.
Yeah, we've got a Portland. Both Tyler and I have lived in
Portland.
Portland.
Yep. Yep.
I lived from 0 to 5 in Portland. Oh,
Okay.
Denver. We got a Denver.
Yes.
I
Hey,
gotta say,
Laura.
Long Beach, California sounds warmer.
So good.
It's so fun to see where everyone's calling from. So yeah, yesterday we asked for barbecue recommendations of Seattle. I've lived in Seattle. How's the weather in Seattle today, Simon? My dad always tells me it's sunny there when I call home because I grew up there. See, sunny.
Yes, of course.
Yes, my husband says, or my dad always says it's sunny today, and I'm like, Dad, don't do that because I've lived there and I know that's not true. But I
Oh,
believe you, Simon. I believe you.
that's so good. So good. We know what it's really like, those of us that have lived there.
Exactly, exactly. In Seattle, it's hoodie season. Well, it's almost always hoodie season, but it's
Yeah,
definitely hoodie season now.
definitely, huh?
I
Hey,
love that it's
can,
sunny there
can
too.
I ask who was on yesterday? Amy, I missed yesterday.
Yeah, we had people from a lot of people from North and South Carolina, which was
Okay.
really interesting, which is why we got into barbecue, and then
Okay.
a lot of folks from California
Okay.
and Ely, Nevada. And they were thrilled that we knew where Ely, Nevada was because my speaker was from Salt Lake and my guest, and they were saying nobody ever knows where we are. So they were excited that there was someone. So, but Kansas City and 90 degrees doesn't sound bad to me, Melissa. It sounds
Yeah.
pretty good. It's getting chilly here. We had our first snow. I live in Park City, Utah, and we had our first snow 2 nights ago, and I do not know that I'm ready for that yet. So
It's early.
that is definitely, well, we will encourage everyone to keep adding where they're from in the chat if they want to. And then as we go through this, questions, comments, ideas, anything that you want us to ask Tyler, just throw that in the chat. It does seem early for snow, Lauren. I have the same thoughts. I may have said that very loudly to my family. This is too early for snow. But it worked out. And oh, Salt Lake, nice. Jen, come on up. We've got a place you can stay that's 10 minutes from the lifts. So you just let me know and you can come on up and stay up here. Although if you're in Salt Lake, you're not too far away.
Amy,
Um,
does this count? Does this count to get an invite?
yes, absolutely. You can
Okay.
stay anytime.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a big walkout basement, and it's honestly the bedroom and master bath is nicer than ours upstairs. So we encourage you to stay anytime.
Noted.
Anyone on the call, just ping me. I'm on LinkedIn. But we will go ahead and jump into this as we've got a good quorum started, and I know people continue to join. And aside from skiing, I'm just excited to join everyone. This is our new series at Nava Benefits. It's called Missing Chapters. And our goal for this series is to arm HR leaders with the chapters missing from their guidebook. And what do we mean by that? We mean all the things that we think you probably wished you'd known or been told earlier in your career. You know, we maybe went to business school to go into HR, or you found your way into HR. And sometimes we're not given all of the instruction on all the things that you have to deal with. And so missing chapters is to try to fill some of that gap and just have great conversations about what's happening in HR right now. So I'm Amy Frampton. I'm the CMO here of Nava Benefits. And my guest is Tyler Allen. Tyler, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey there, Tyler Allen. I'm running HR at the North Face, and I have an America's role for our mother company, VF Corporation, and currently live in Denver. And excited to be here. And I love the premise of this series, Amy. I mean, there's a lot of hidden chapters. There's a lot of things we don't know, and so I think this is so great.
And so many of us, and I, my job before this was I led marketing at Bamboo HR. And so while I'm in marketing, I've got to talk to HR folks for a number of years professionally. And it is just a job where there's always something new. There's, always a new interesting, kind of twister turn, and there's so many hats that you have to wear. So our hope is that these conversations can really help people do that. And again, encourage questions in chat. And we'll get to those for sure. But let's dive in. I'm really excited about our topic today. And so this is the chapter, the missing chapter on dispersed and retail workforces, and what that misses, or what the training that we've all received misses about truly meeting different employee needs. Something that's I know is super hard to get right because it's super complex, especially with benefits, but really in communications in a lot of areas. So today we're going to be talking about exactly how to get it right with Tyler. And we're going to hear all of his learnings along the way. So
Love
once
it.
again, don't be shy with a chat. And we like to kick something off with something fun. So can you give us a fun fact about you, Tyler?
Well, I love to backpack, Amy. I don't know if you knew that or not. Amy
I
and I
did
go
not
way
know
back,
that.
by the way. So
Yes.
I've done 50-mile hikes like almost every summer for the past long number of years, and mostly I've spent most of my professional career in the Pacific Northwest. So I've lived in the Seattle area and in Portland, Oregon, and so most of my hiking's been done on the Pacific Crest Trail, which is awesome. So moving to Denver and working at the North Face is like right up my alley, right? Like this is in perfect alignment with what I like to do outside of work. And I discovered the Colorado Trail. So it's over 500 miles of trail through the Rocky Mountains. So I have a new place to go and a new trail to conquer. So,
So do you camp during
oh
the year
yeah,
you go and camp? Yeah.
you bet. Yeah, it's like a 4 or 5 day trip, depending on how aggressive we get, but everything you eat and need is on your back, and I love it. So,
That is awesome. I
yep.
think my fun fact is that I will never camp. I love a good hike. I live in Park City, and then I want to come home and take a shower and,
Yeah.
go out to dinner or something like that. I always say that my ancestors came west and built houses so that I would never have to camp. So we are our fun facts are complete opposites, but I know we both have a good time on the hikes for sure. Tell us, as you mentioned, you were in the Northwest,
Mhm.
and you're now in Denver. Tell us about your career path and kind of how you ended up where you are.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to think about careers. And I actually have my oldest two children are in college now, and they're so stressed about their careers and picking majors and like, what are they going to do when they grow up? And they keep asking me, Dad, what should I do? And my own personal experience is you kind of just stumble into your career. A lot of us do, at least, right? Like you start to find things that interest you, and you figure it out. My first job out of undergrad was in public accounting at a company called Arthur Anderson. For those of you that have been around for a while, our company went away with the Enron fiasco in the early 2000s, and so it was actually a really nice segue when the company went away. It was like, okay, what do you want to do now, Tyler? And it was easy for me. It was definitely not public accounting anymore, right? Like that was a little too stale or vanilla for me, and so was super excited, made a pivot into HR, and went and did a master's degree and got into HR. And I've got to work for some great companies. I worked for Microsoft for a number of years, worked for Nike, and now the North Face. And I think, for me, I've been able to do a lot of different things in HR. So I'm an HR business partner at heart. I love partnering with the business to drive what we need to make money or whatever our objectives are, right? But I love learning and growing and being involved in different areas. So I've worked across recruiting and compensation and benefits. I've worked in mergers and acquisitions for HR, talent management. And so for me, it's all been about what can I learn, where can I grow, and where can I contribute. So it's just, now all of a sudden I'm a pretty senior position here. I love what I do. It's crazy, but I do love what I do. But it's just come because I've wanted to learn and grow and contribute.
That's I work with a number of students. They're not kids, they're adults. At the university here in Salt Lake. And they often will tell me, like, what exactly should I do to get this job or to get that job? And I often tell them, focus on what you can learn in a job and how you can impact.
Yeah,
And if you can do those two things, just keep moving and you'll find your own path. I think that's really, really true.
yeah.
Um, so I'd love to turn and focus on what the missing chapter is that we're talking about today, which is this diverse and distributed workforce. Can you tell us a little bit about how the North Face is set up and the different kinds of workforces that you're thinking about from a human resources perspective?
Yeah, for sure. And it's an exciting part of my role to get to cover our retail, field employees. And then we also have DC employees, so our distribution centers around the US too. And it's a different experience than supporting corporate office employees, right? And so if at the North Face, we're part of VF Corporation. So that's the mothership. We also have some other great brands under our umbrella. So we've got Vans. I'm rocking Vans today. You can't see my feet, but I'm 6'8". If you didn't know, that should have been my fun fact, huh? I'm 6'8", and so Vans are nice when I don't want any more lift, because a lot of the Vans are flat. But anyway, Vans, Timberland, Dickies, Smartwool, Ultra running shoes. So lots of different brands in the portfolio. And so part of my role is running HR for the North Face, and then part of it also is running the Americas division for all of VF Corp. So I get to interact with all our brands on the retail front, right? And I would say it's kind of a standard structure for retail, where we've got some of retail, the leadership of retail are in corporate jobs. So these are retail brand vice presidents and senior directors that are running our retail strategy and running operations from the corporate side. And then getting into stores, we've got our regional directors. They oversee district managers. The district managers oversee the store managers, and then we've got assistant store managers, supervisors, associates, etc. But we have anywhere, depending on the time of year, in between 10 and 15,000 retail employees. And that's one of the unique things about retail too, is it ebbs and flows. So we have peak seasons. Back to school is a peak season for us in the early fall, right? And then holiday is another peak season. And so those are seasons where we hire a lot of temporary employees, where they'll come in and work for a period of time to get us through the peak season. And it's a different set of employees that are either trying to get a foot in the door, right, or actually want a temporary role to earn some extra money or do something like that. So that's kind of the organization. And on the DC side of things, similar but different, right? Maybe a little more stable workforce in our distribution centers, but similar in that they're similar structure, but working the line instead of working the distribution line instead of working with customers in the stores.
And does that ebb and flow? Are those mostly full-time folks, or are they also kind of temporary plus full-time in the distribution centers?
Very, very similar. Yeah, very similar. Higher percentage in our distribution center, much higher percentage of full-time employees, but we still, for peak seasons, do a lot of temporary labor in those situations too. So it's been, I mean, it's been wild. You said it up front, Amy. HR wears lots of hats, and you have to be ready for whatever comes our way, right? I just spent some time recently, actually, in one of our distribution centers outside of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So I'd never been there before. And one of the challenges was getting employees to be able to get to the facility. So that community, that area, a lot of one-car families live in that area, and so it was hard to get employees, to get to drive out, because our facility was kind of a little remote. It's probably 20 minutes outside Harrisburg, maybe a half hour. And so our HR team, we had to get really creative of how can we hire people for peak season and for regular season and get them out to the facility. Well, we found out, hey, let's hire a bus. And so we paid for a bus for people. And so every day the bus would pick people up, in the town, in the city, drive them out to our facility and drive them back to the city. And it was something that was really easy for us to like find and provide, and enabled us to kind of open a whole new segment of talent to join our workforce.
I love that. It's both a great example of the surprising challenges I think that
Yeah.
HR often has to like fix, and you don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's also a great way to think about total rewards and kind of benefits
Mhm.
and support for teams and in with a diversity of needs,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, honestly, it's like when to talk about the benefits piece, we always go right to like our medical benefits, right? And the health plan and your deductibles and all that. But so much of the benefits package can come from things that we do within each facility or within, that employees specifically need that aren't part of the, annual benefits enrollment process. But
Yeah, for sure. As you think about those kind of three key audiences, corporate, retail, and distribution center, what are the challenges that you find? You shared the one. What are the challenges you find that are different, maybe that are the same and then are also different between? Because some of it may be more universal. Uh,
Yeah, I think the first thing that came to mind on this question is really balancing the market, right? Because we participate in market surveys. Everyone does a really nice job doing that, right? To see what's competitive in the market, right? Because we need to be competitive in the market. You then have an aspect of it that's what do our employees need and want, right? And so there's the market, there's what employees need and want, and then of course the big one, our budget, and how much can we afford and how much are we willing to invest here. And so it's this it's this triad of three things that we really look to balance, and it's true for our corporate employees, it's true for the distribution centers, and it's true for retail. And so and the budget and need and market is different in all of those. And so it's really trying to pull together what we think is the right thing that crosses across all three of those and meets those needs. And so that balancing piece is probably the biggest challenge I think that I've experienced.
and do you do different packages for different audiences, or is it uniform?
We try to keep as much uniform as possible. We really try to emphasize like we're one company, right? Like we try
Mhm,
to treat
mhm.
everyone as much as we can the same, because we don't want to, say that you're lesser or better based on what type of package we put forward. And so the core of things is pretty much the same, but those specific things like the bus, right? Like we don't have a bus in Denver for our Denver employees, but we do at that particular DC, right? And so some of kind of the off-book benefits or the local benefits are things where we would get a little more specific on.
But everything else is uniform.
Yeah,
That's
yep.
that's really interesting. I wonder, how do you communicate about those benefits? For instance, how did you hear, you said, obviously employee wants and needs as part of
Yeah.
the way you're looking at this. Do you do a survey?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do a
Yeah,
survey.
good. I mean, that's probably the next one. If I had another bullet, is like how do you hear and really understand what those
Yeah,
needs are, right?
tell us
It's a
about that.
little easier in the corporate environment, I think, because surveys are more accessible, people are more accessible. There's a lot of hallway conversations because we sit here, right? But yeah, so I think using surveys is a big part of what we do. You get scaled responses through surveys, right? And
Mhm.
so we have a couple of things that probably most companies do, where we have an annual survey that retail and DC employees participate in. Our retail participation this past year was the highest it's ever been, and so we're really like over 70%, which is really good for us. So we were really excited about that. So we're hearing from them through that. We have we have a benefits enrollment survey, right? So after and during the enrollment process, there's a survey that everyone gets asked to fill out specifically on what we offer and what's missing and things of that nature. And then we just started something just recently. Actually, we've only been doing it for 2 months, but we're calling it a pulse survey, but it's basically an online suggestion box.
Mm.
If you think back to the old days, I always
I remember those days.
I laugh because there's a really good Office episode about the suggestion box. Anyway, you can go look it up if you haven't seen it, but very good. Um, we have an online one of those that we just launched 2 months ago, where we're kind of pushing it out, pushing the QR code out to retail, the retail storerooms and DCs and in our hallways here in the corporate offices. We just want to hear from people. And the questions are on the pulse survey are super quick. It's like, what could we be doing better? What feedback do you have? What questions do you have? It's just like, real quick kind of suggestion box type things. And we're seeing some really good feedback come in from that, where it's a little less formal, but still can scale, if that makes sense. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely does. We actually have a template for employee benefit surveys that we can send out to people after this if they haven't done one before, or if they need a template, just a free template. We'll make sure to send that out to everyone, because hearing that voice, even though you can't, I'm sure, do everything everyone
yeah,
wants, because you've got to think about that budget and you've got to think about the entire population. Hearing from folks across the board is such a critical
yeah.
piece of planning benefits.
If I'd be remiss if I didn't say the other part of hearing from our employees too is just through people, right? And so we do ask, we have regular, district manager meetings that my team will attend and that we're a part of, and that we're really close to our DMs, and they work with the store managers, right? And so what feedback are they hearing? We ask them to ask for feedback, so we're kind of pulling it just up through the management chain that way. And then I would say on a more one-to-one basis, we do store visits all the time. I do store visits. My team, all the way down to our HR managers, do store visits, and it's part of what we ask, like, what's going well? What do you need? How's your, how's work? How's life? How's, just trying to like get a real feel and understand, and what their experiences are like, and actually developing relationships with those people. So it's back to the Uber point, which is, how do you hear and understand what they need? It's a combo of kind of broad-based surveys, our new quick hit survey, and then just through people. And so we're trying to reach people in a lot of different ways that way.
I think it's important that people feel heard as well. You get great information, but then they also feel heard. And even if you can't do everything, which we never all can,
Yeah.
they at least know that you've had the conversation, you've been thoughtful. So
Yeah.
you take all this information, and obviously there's budget and there's what you've been doing and all these factors. How do you set goals for your benefits as you think about rolling them out every year?
Yeah. So I would say I'm going to answer Megan's question too as part of this.
Okay.
So like, yes, we've noticed some things in the benefits survey, and Amy, to your point, you can't do everything, right? But what it's given us is it's given us things to think about and go research too. And so I would say, since the pandemic, we've been hearing quite a bit about just need for more mental health resources and benefits and things of that nature. And so we've really ramped up there and done a lot more there, but it didn't come the first year we saw it in the survey. It's like, okay, that's things that come up in the surveys that we can then go research and figure out, different things that we want to do there. And so that's something that's been, exciting for us, is that we know we kind of eventually get there. It's almost like, can we go back to those employees and say, hey, we did it for you, but hard to find those people. But back to your question about goals, right? Like, um, our our kind of vision for benefits is to live limitless through body, mind, and financial well-being. And so, like, what can we do to help people live limitless, And so it's kind of just like, just get out there and live, live your best work life, live your best home life and family life, and through body, which is very traditional benefits, but we've done a lot in the mind section, um, and financial section. And so, as we think about, specific goals, it's like, what can we do to continue to make progress in each of those three buckets? And every year we're looking at it, every year it's like, do we make change? What's the cost? What's the market? What's the need? So all those things are playing into these ideas, and some we have to push later down the road, and some we move on quicker.
And how do you know, as you said, make change? Like, is this about who's participating, the numbers of people participating? Is it, kind of, how do you think about that change metric, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely look at usage rates to see like are people using these things? If not, why not? What can we do to help increase knowledge of certain benefits or certain practices that we're doing? And so we just try to track and we try to learn and move quickly. We've got a great. I work for a great chief people officer that loves to test and learn. It's like don't be afraid to test and learn and make change. And so if things are working great, let's double down on it. If they're not, let's figure out why. And if we need to stop, let's stop. And so, I really appreciate that in him. And it's something, in my career that I've actually tried to live by too. It's like, let's not be afraid to just try things, right? Be bold, and see if it works. And if it doesn't, change course.
I mean, live limitless is a beautiful goal, and I love that it goes down to, body, mind, and financial. Is that
Yeah. Yep.
correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
And because it allows you to drill down a little bit, but still is this aspirational
Yeah.
feel. As you think about ways that you and your team have helped these different audiences live limitless, what are some things that you're the most proud of? I love the bus story, but I'd love to hear a few more examples.
Yeah, the bus story I just love actually. Like I just love the creativity, right? It's like,
Yeah.
what was the problem? And I have a sticky note on my computer. I've had this for years, and it says, "What are we trying to solve for?"
Hmm.
Because we get caught up sometimes. There's so much going on. We get caught up in activity, right? And it's like sometimes you just have to pause and remind everyone, what are we trying to solve for, right? And so that helped us with the bus situation. Like there was a specific need. We couldn't hire people that
Hmm.
could get themselves to work, and so um, the team got really creative there, which I loved. A couple of things that we did that are I would say they're local. They're not part of like the enrollment package, right? But they're local benefits things that we did. One is a program that we call Time to Talk, and it's a program where we train internal employees and certify them in mental health first aid. And before I got to this company, I didn't even know that existed or that you could do that. But we train people. There's a formal training program. They're certified to be a mental health first aid specialist, and they are our own people. They are people that we work with that are certified, and they put it like in their email signatures or their names and pictures are on the website. And we encourage people to book time with them for mental health first aid. If you think about a first aid kit that sits on the wall, down the hall, it's got the quick hit things. It's got the Band-Aid, the alcohol, the gauze pads. It's like those quick hit things. And that's what this is meant to be, is like quick hit mental health first aid for our team, for people that we work with. And so
I love that.
people can choose to go to someone they could come to Stephanie on my team, or they could pick someone that they don't know, right? And they're trained to help you through that first aid that needs immediate attention, and then they're trained to get you help in a different way, whether it's maybe through technology resources that we have on mental health, or if it's getting you with a counselor or whatever it may be. But that's something that's been really cool, and it's gaining a lot of momentum. And again, I love that we're using our own people because it's people we see and work with and trust.
I love that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Cool.
gosh, that's really cool. And is that done at corporate only or across the board?
And we're expanding it out. So it started last year in corporate, and now we're expanding it out to the DCs and retail as well. And so it's been really great so far. So I'm not trained myself yet to be a first aid responder in that sense, but it's on my to-do list. You guys know we have long to-do lists, but I'm going to get on it because I love it and believe in it. So it's exciting.
That's awesome. Any help you have for our audience to understand maybe where to look into that as a concept and where there might be a list, is something, we can take offline and I can send to folks as a follow-up.
Yeah.
If there's any resources that we can share, I know it would be really appreciated by the group.
Yeah, I'd be happy to share that, and that's a good plan. I'll do that through you, and we can get it out. Can I share another one?
Of course.
So I love our retail apprentice program. So we have a lot of people in retail that love retail and want to stay in retail, right? And that's wonderful. Like whatever you want to do in your career. There's also a lot of people that get into retail and they find that they want to use that path to get into corporate jobs or different types of jobs, right? And so um, we created a retail apprentice program where we post 5 to 15 jobs a year that are actual real jobs on the corporate side, and we post them for all retail employees, and they can apply and they go through an interview process, and they get this job for a while, and they get to test out a corporate job. And it's like it's been awesome, because we love, love, love our retail employees because they work one to one and face to face with our consumers. And we love that, right? Like sometimes when you're in and we make product for our consumers, right? And so we want our consumers experiences and feedback. We want it. And we've got lots of ways to gather it. But when you can actually hire someone that can actually share what it's like and what they're learning, so it's a great program on the corporate side, and it's really great on our employees side for those that want to kind of make that their career path. So that's something
Oh,
that is
cool. Like it's
that we just started.
yeah, I was thinking internal internship, but apprenticeship is perfect and
Yeah,
give them the opportunity to try.
yeah.
That's really powerful and exciting.
And we've done it now for I think this is our fourth year that we've been doing that, and we're tracking the alumni of the program to see like where are they going, what are they doing, and how are they moving through the company, and we've just been getting a lot of great feedback, and we'll probably continue to expand that offering. But that's one of the pieces of feedback we hear a lot from our dispersed workforce, both in DCs and in retail, is about career, like help me with my career. And so that's a big topic, right? Because
Yes,
career to
yeah.
some people might mean something totally different than someone else. And so this is like one aspect of career, which is like moving out of the frontline workforce into a corporate workforce. But that's one kind of element of I call it a benefit for employees that they can get help with their career and have opportunities like this.
I love that. That's awesome. I don't want to go to another question if you wanted to share another one.
Well, maybe I'll expand on the retail apprentice, and we to try and hit everyone's needs. We have career advisors that are also internal people that are either in HR, or they don't have to be in HR either, but we train them on what it takes to be a career advisor and how you would advise someone on their career and things to think about, frameworks to use. And any employee, including retail and DC, can sign up to meet with a career advisor. And so I got people on my team that reserve time, every other week to have career advisor sessions. And so someone can reach out and schedule that time with our own team to say, hey, I need help with my career. What would you recommend? And so sometimes it's nice. You should definitely be going to your manager for those conversations too, right? Like, let's make sure we're empowering our managers, but it's also nice to just go to someone independent and kind of talk through things like that. And so it's similar to our mental health first aid program, where we're just training our own team to do it, because we're here, we know each other, and we're all part of the same team. So let's help each other through that. So that's another one that we're excited about.
I love that. Yesterday, we were talking to Kat Judd from Lucid Software, and
Okay.
she was talking about the importance of having both mentors or these career growth coaches and a manager. Like you
Yeah.
need a manager that's talking to you about those things, but you also need someone that's not your manager to talk about these things and the importance of kind of having both. And they also do it internally.
Okay.
They
Cool.
have found that because no matter what size you are, you can do that's a program that scales small to large.
Yeah.
Right? And I thought that was just a great tip. So
That's
how do
cool.
you mentioned a website that the mental first aid folks are on. Do you have an internal website, or how are you communicating with all of these different kinds of audiences? I would think some of your audiences would be more prone, to being online and looking on the website, and some would not. So
Yeah, for sure. So we do have it on websites. What we try to do at our various locations is put out QR codes, so that they can just They can just scan it and get to the website and get the information they need. We have a communications portal that we use to communicate basically from corporate down to retail and DCs. And so the store managers go to this portal, and this is like, these are the announcements, like these are the things that they want us to know or communicate to our teams. And then we rely on the store managers to communicate it to their teams in their team meetings that they have, on a regular basis. And so um, it's hard. Like, it'd be nice to just be able to write it on someone's forehead, for them. But we try to use our portal to get to the store managers, and then the store managers take it the last mile.
Yeah, and they have the ability to do that in team meetings and other
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because some jobs you're online all day and some jobs you're not,
yeah,
right? You're talking to
and
customers, you're doing
yeah.
fulfillment, or yeah.
Yeah, you think about our retail employees are working the floor, right? Like, they're meeting with people. They don't have a lot of time to go back and sit at a computer and do these things. And so even things like getting them to take the survey takes a little bit of creativity and kind of encouragement from store leadership, because they've got to work their shift and then go take the survey and do things like that. So the store managers, um, we rely on them a lot. They're very important to us, and they're juggling 10 balls at once all the time, it seems like. But
I can only imagine. Yeah. Do you ever incent survey taking?
we haven't incented it. No, I think what we just try to say is, like, you're part of the team, right? Like, we want to hear from everyone. And one of the things we do share is participation rates. And so there are friendly competitions all the time, because nothing like
Oh,
turning it into a competition. And so when you see that your district is behind the Northwest district, right? Like, it's funny how so many of us are like, oh yeah, I got to get on that. I want to beat them. And so even just honestly just sharing the numbers out helps us
mhm.
get more more participation. I even with our retail leaders, especially, like, I always try to find what data am I going to share with them that will show them where they're at and encourage them to do better. And so I'm always kind of looking for what data tidbits I can share out so that they can use it as motivation.
That's awesome. I love that. And I do think a little friendly competition it can be good, especially when you're in multiple locations.
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap, I'd love I think the whole group would love to hear, as there are folks on the call that are dealing with multiple kinds of locations, different kinds of workers. What's the advice, the takeaway advice that you would give them as they're thinking about different populations?
Yeah, I mean, I think be bold, be willing to take risks. And the phrase that comes to mind is from a song, "Drive it like you stole it," like, own this and drive it like you stole it, And so the if you think about that comment, I laugh at it, but it's like, if you really stole something, you'd be driving like a maniac, And so, but I think of that as, like, own it and have passion behind it and drive it and use data to make your points, but, like, don't be afraid to take risks and to just trial and error, test and learn and drive it like you stole it.
I love that. I'm going to start to use that myself. Drive it like you stole it. I drive pretty fast as it is. I don't know that I don't know
I
that I
think
want.
I think I remember you driving fast. For those of you that didn't know, Amy and I used to be neighbors on the
We're
same street.
neighbors.
So
Yes, and I do. I may be known for that. I will maybe know. Hopefully there's no police on the phone. Well, hey, Tyler, thank you so much for joining us today. If we have questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat, and we'll give folks just a minute to do that. But just really appreciate your perspective on this. The North Face is such a um, obviously big brand, big
yeah,
name, but made up of all these great humans.
yeah,
And so, thinking about how we can all best serve our humans is something that's really, really important to us.
yeah. I love it. Yeah, you said it well. They really are. We're all part of the same team, trying to do our best. So
Yeah, yeah. And I like that you're representing in the jacket.
hey, people watch what you wear in when you work for a product company. So
I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure that that's true. Well, everyone, thanks so much for joining us. And Tyler, thanks for your time. And we hope you'll join us again. As we close, I do want to encourage everyone to visit our Nava benefits page around community. This is not a sales thing at all. This is just a great community of hundreds and hundreds of HR leaders, HR specialists, partners, business partners, all talking about what they're facing. And Haley, great, put the link in the chat. Join now, and we'd love to have you join us. We also do special events for our community, both in person and virtual, and would love to have everyone join the party with us. So join the community. And other than that, I'll just say, everyone, it's Friday Eve. We're almost there. Enjoy. We'll send our follow-ups and look forward to seeing everyone on the next Missing Chapters. Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you.